Welcome back to Heal, Healing, Empowering, Accepting, and Living, a podcast sponsored by Change by Fire. Thank you for being a part of our ongoing journey as we continue to explore burn care, recovery, and whole body wellness post-trauma injuries. This truly is a community of support and shared healing. My name is Lori Janik, and I'm a 15-year burn advocate, social worker, and current holistic trauma therapist.
And I'm Jen Severance. I am a burn survivor, among many other things, and that's the perspective I bring to the podcast. Well, welcome back. Recap of episode 1, Relationships Defined. We talked about the definition of relationship, the type of relationships that are possible, benefits of relationships, and personal experiences around them. Have you taken a step with our takeaway to explore your own values within your relationship, with yourself, with another, and how are you living them out? What did you find? Are you adjusting toward greater connection and wellness? We would love to hear from you about that. This episode, we step a little bit deeper into the concept of relationships, but with particular focus on how they are impacted in a traumatic injury like a burn. A hard but meaningful topic. So let's get healing.
Burn injuries are such a significant life experience. And for the majority, the injury happens without warning, anticipation of, and a greater shock and blow to our overall coping abilities. Depending on the severity of an injury, a great amount of healing can take place in hospitals, clinics, therapy locations, alternative therapy supports, and just pull people away from much of what is normal life for them, including relationships. Not only does a survivor face the grasp of what happened to them and their body, how it affects their physical functioning, how they approach emotions, mentality surrounding coping needs, and also the unaddressed matter of how an injury affects a burn survivor socially amidst life relationships. There have been a lot of research done around burn injuries and the relational impacts on healing, which really allowed us to improve some of how care is handled and the supports that are provided in a variety of settings. The amount of social supports a burn survivor has is such a positive predictor of their outcomes among healing, particularly those in older ranges of injury. Social support, a present, consistent, supportive relationship, can really facilitate coping, help with motivation and recovery, and help with readjustment and reintegration into life. In fact, being partnered and not living alone are actually some of the greatest predictors of reintegration and resilience post-injury.
So, what might some of the difficulties post-injury affecting a burn survivor be that might impact a relationship? There's tons. Chronic pain issues, fatigue, light sensitivity, different mobilities, depression and anxiety surrounding burn changes can not only pull a burn survivor inward toward themselves, but severely affect their ability to socially engage. And the additional understanding and support needs of a loved one on top of their role as a parent, partner, child. Scarring and disfigurement can further increase one's own distress and dissatisfaction with appearance post-injury, as well as impact additionally how they might be seen by their partner or loved one. It's a dual coping situation where sometimes it can exceed our own capacity.
And I think that's a big thing we really wanted to focus on today is there's so much duality that can enter a relationship post an injury in terms of changes, appearance, function, roles, fears, ability to show up. And we really wanted to kind of just explore further with a burn survivor in healing, just, what might be some of those aspects and impacts and what have been helpful ways to show up in a relationship and what have been, more hard or difficult aspects of relationships. So we are super fortunate to have a burn survivor today, in addition to Jen, who can really speak to the affect on burn injury on relationships with oneself, the family, significant other. So I'd like to introduce Ashley Perro, who is an amazing adult partner, mom, burn survivor from the age of 16 on, who has graciously offered to share her insights and relationship learning post-injury. Welcome, Ashley, to our podcast.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay, Ashley. Well, it's so cool to have you here. So, Ashley, would you be willing to briefly share with us a little bit about your burn injury story as a teenager and specifically how it affected your relationship with yourself and those around you at the time?
Yes, I was burned in 1998 when I was just 16 years old, which is a time in your life you're going through life and you're starting to drive and do all these adult things and grow up and all the things. And so it was an exciting time in my life. And I never thought anything like my burn injury like that would happen to me ever. But I was driving to a friend's house and I was in a bad car accident and I was burned 76% of my body, significant burns, and not expected to make it. So it was just, my family up until then at that point had never heard of really anything like that type of thing happening ever. So I know the first thing that I was like mostly concerned about was just like, what am I going to look like now? And just to see yourself for the first time. I remember being so bandaged up at the first, like, there was like a picture of myself, what I remember myself looking like up at my hospital door. And I was just expecting that. So the first time you like see yourself and everything, it's hard. It's definitely hard. And it takes a minute. And but my family, especially my mom, was there for me every step of the way and never treated me or looked at me any differently than the way that I was still the same person inside, no matter, just because I looked differently on the outside. And so I knew at that point, like, I can, just give up and crawl into a hole, or I can just keep living my life and go out there and fight back and have a life and everything else that I want. So, going back into high school and everything like that, it's hard and it's difficult, especially with relationships. And I had friendships that ended, people who didn't know how to deal with my burn injury and things like that. But you find out who your real friends are. And like I said, my family, they never wavered from me at all, ever, especially my mom. She was my strength to be there for me always. So she really helped me through a lot of it. My mom, my sister, my dad, it really brought us closer together as a family. Because we were so appreciative just to have each other and for me to still be able to be there with them and just be a part of life. It was just that things were done differently.
I think you're really mentioning too, like I always like to explore, what are ways that are helpful and how people respond and what are ways that, not so helpful. And you're saying, a really helpful way that your family responded was they treated you just like you were. They didn't kind of
Yeah,
shift or change or vary in how they responded. And some of your
yeah,
friends could navigate that and some of them could not. So maybe
no,
what were some of the helpful ways in which people responded, and what were some of the more hurtful or hard? Because also you were a teenager. I mean, you were super susceptible to, you know,
yes, for
others
me,
around you.
yeah, I think a lot of it is people don't know a lot about burns
Mm,
and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So they're just, and they're too afraid to ask or ask questions or want to know about it. And I was always very open about it. And just, if you want to ask, if you want to know, if you want to know what happened to me, you still to this day, if someone comes up to me and asks or anything, I'm completely open with, I'd rather you ask. And then once
mhm.
people know, they're more knowledgeable about it. They're just like,
Yes.
oh, okay, like you speak and talk just like a regular human. Like you're not like that. I'm just like you. I just,
Yeah.
you know, have burns.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is just it's helpful for people to have like more, I think there needs to be more knowledge out there and things. And then just people not being afraid to just ask questions and
Yes.
say like, it's like, it's still me. I'm still that same person.
Mm,
Yeah.
And like you said, that was the best thing for my family because my family never,
mhm,
they didn't treat me any different. And that's what I needed at that time. I needed to know that I was still me and
mm,
that, I was still the same person I always was.
Yeah.
I just looked
mm,
different.
Yeah. For sure. I'm with you on that. I had the same thing with just people. You just want to let them know it's okay to ask. It's,
mm,
I know
Yeah.
people would look at you a little. I often talk about like going to a grocery store and having people sort of
Yeah.
double take and then like
Yeah.
quickly look away. That no, I'm just another person with I
It's
just look a
okay.
little
Yeah.
different than you. It's
Yeah.
well, so your injury really occurred at a time in life when friends, dating relationships, as we've spoken about, were really at the forefront of your development at that time and your experiences. How did you handle that as a teenager and a young adult, maintaining and building maybe the relationships you already had, but then like moving into relationships with new people?
I mean, it was difficult. It was definitely a difficult time. There was ups and there was downs,
Mm,
but I think I just always just stayed true to myself, and I would still wanted to have, a teenage life and go out there and have relationships and have fun with people and meet people and, date boys and things like that. But I just, there was times that I had those moments where I like doubted, is anyone going to accept me or love me?
mm,
But you do find those people, like you do. Like you just have to like
mm,
give yourself grace and like have faith and, know that the right person will come along and the right people will come along in your life. And then those people, they love you for who you really are, for who you
yes.
mm,
truly, really are.
Yeah, I think
Because,
I talk about that being the gift of being a burn
yes,
survivor sometimes, right? Yeah.
yes,
mm.
Hmm.
because
So
they get to know you.
Yeah,
you
for
you
sure.
really were able to then, and you strove to stay really true to your values and true to who and how you saw yourself, which probably is one of your strategies of how you learn to kind of really keep and maintain and build and grow your relationships. How might you encourage someone else, maybe someone who's in a relationship, whether it be friend or partner or whatsoever, with a survivor, about how they might show up and respond around a burn survivor, their support needs?
I just, I think it's just letting that person know, like, how you feel it's okay to be vulnerable with that person,
Mm,
to, open yourself up. It's easy to want to be closed off and not let any of those feelings out. Cause I struggled with that at first too, even with my husband, meeting him and stuff, and kind of did that like push away point where I didn't want to like let him in. But
Mm.
then, once you do, I think that's important to do, because then that person's really like truly going to care about you and be there for you and understand you. Like, I know for my husband, he just, I had been hurt a lot, and he still to this day has said from the beginning, like, he's never seen my burns, he's never seen my scars, because one thing he always admired about me was that I never hid them away. My burns are all over my body, they're everywhere. And he remembered seeing me on the college campus just in little shorts and a tank top. Like, I live in Arizona, for one, it's hot, and like I still was like gonna be the same person and live my life and wear my clothes and do my things. And people people that are really gonna love me are gonna love me for me.
Yeah.
And people, they see that you're not afraid to go out there, and that you're not afraid to show who you really are and everything. And so I think that attracts people.
That confidence and belief in yourself is such a carrier and builder of relationships. And how amazing that you have people that both supported and enabled that, but you had that strength and that ability within yourself to take and carry that forward.
Yeah.
And speaking of your wonderful husband, you found an amazing partner there and friend in your husband, Justin, and have gone through more of your own burn healing as well with him by your side. How has he been affected by your burn recovery? Like, what have been his factors of resilience, do you think, in staying present and supportive as well as connected for you both?
I think it's been like, for him, like, always looking at me for me, and like never looking at the injury or the burns or anything like that. And he's always been there for me from day one. Even when we first got together, I was still having a couple procedures and things like that at that time, and he was always there and always supportive. He's just been great about everything. He's just, I'm just very blessed with him.
You really are. I once counseled a woman just over the phone, but she was really concerned about finding a partner and how they would perceive her burns. And I love that kind of like, this is what I look like. Like, just, I'm in Arizona, I'm going to wear shorts. Like, this is my skin. This is what I look like. And that's the kind of confidence, burn survivor or not, that I think is so important in attracting someone who's going to love you for that fierce person that you are.
Yeah, my husband, that's literally what he said. Like, one of his attractions to me was my self-confidence.
Yes.
Just always, and he's never had to, like, he knows I'm very independent, and I'll go out there and I'm fine standing up for myself and being strong for myself and things like that, because I've been through the worst of the worst and horrible, terrible, terrible things. So, no one has the right to judge you after you've been through those kinds of things. Yeah. So, you're just, burn survivors are special and very strong and just courageous. And they need to know that and believe in that in themselves.
I love that. And I love also, like, I've been fortunate enough to see the two of you together and your beautiful family, and just like how present they all are around you and supportive and involved in the various different supports that you've sought. I think that is such a hugely impactful way that those in relationship with a burn survivor can show up. So you also are a parent to 3 amazing young adult, teenage female women. So I mean, like, man, 3 girls at that teenage young adult age, and raising them amidst your injury and your own healing supports, I imagine probably created, some pressures, some difficulty at times, because I mean, you're responding to their needs and their supports and growing amidst your own. And How did you navigate that kind of both type of relationship, showing up for you and showing up for them? And how did you provide any answers to questions or educations on, how they might have perceived any differences or changes that a burn injury can create?
I for the girls, I mean, especially our girls, like they as they grow older and stuff, they got to learn my story and what had happened and realize that, mommy looked different and things like that. But they again, that's all they ever knew. Like I would ask them even like, is it strange to you? Is it weird to you? Is it different? Because I mean, there was different things that I know their friends or other school events and things like that people would say things or whisper or make comments or things like that. But again, I think it was just like they were like, that's my mom. Like they were just always proud of me and like knew what I had been through. And my girls have all talked about that. They're like, Mom, you're strong. And I just try to instill in them, especially with being girls and stuff in this world, that, just to always be yourself and be true to yourself and don't worry about, that outward appearance that everyone tries to judge you on, or the pressures of the world try to put on everyone about it. And my girls, have the first time they were around other burn survivors and everything, they were just like amazing. Like they didn't have any problems. They just embraced it and they loved it and they were great with everyone. Again, they didn't look at anybody differently. And I think that that's a unique experience for them now, because they don't look, when people look different or there's, different things or that are weird or strange to them, they're okay with asking questions and they don't, they're not doing that judging. They're not doing that second guessing of themselves and things like that. So I think it's helped instill like self-confidence in them. And then just, obviously being a very close relationship that I've had with them, being able to have children and just all of that, being married and having those kids that I always wanted in life. I'm able to have, and I'm very blessed with it.
Yeah, for sure. You're living fully, which is amazing. You have truly lived through so many different relationship experiences. Ashley, you've witnessed and adjusted to the changes and support needs that best empowered your own healing. If you had any words of insight for our listeners around burn recovery, life relationships, what might you say that could be of support in this area of healing?
I would say that first up, give yourself grace, have patience, because it's a journey and it takes time. Yeah. And there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs, but just remember, like I said, what you've been through, like you are a strong, true survivor. There's so much strength in that word survivor, because you are a true survivor of what you've gone through and what you've been through. Burn injury is, it's a hard thing to go through. And so just remember like what you've been through, how strong you are now. And if you're ever doubting yourself or you feel like other people are doubting you, just remember that. And that'll help give you strength to push through and just always be yourself. Just don't be afraid to go out there and keep living your life, because you're still here. You're here for a reason.
Oh, I love those words. It's almost just like if I were to put like a mantra, I'm a big fan of mantras. If I were to put a mantra around kind of like everything that you've said today, I'm hearing, be present, be confident, and live you.
Yep.
I love that. Love that. Thank you so much for your time, for your intention, for how you live forward in all your life roles as a mom, as a partner, as a friend, as a person. I truly appreciate your wisdom, your intention, your presence today, because I know like everyone gets pulled in all these walks of life. So just for people to take the time and the impetus to share and to, build and embrace a piece of community with others, I I really appreciate you being present and being able to honor and support others in their healing journey.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to do it.
Yay.
So, as in every episode, we want to provide you all with a little bit of a takeaway tool, a direct way to apply some learning around burn injuries, relationships. Honestly, a fave piece I will have to say of our podcast is just like what we can take and apply away, and a lot we can get from our speakers, from our guests, a lot we can get from our topics. And then I just love little skills work, little pieces you can take and apply forward. And today's takeaway technique is something I'd like to call write and rehearse. So connection is such an integral part of healing in life. And so moving towards connection in relationships with yourself and others soon after an injury is such a valuable strategy to step into. Ashley had a wonderful connections and supports in her relationships, and others may have the same, or that might be a struggle point. So we're going to practice using a little bit of self-talk, using a little bit of writing, using a little bit of rehearsal to support maybe your relationships and connection forward surrounding an injury. So you might want to have on hand maybe a piece of paper, something to write with. Maybe it's your phone, your notes app, whatever it might be. And I want you to start by taking a little bit of time just to journal or to write down what might be some worries or anxieties or fears that you might have around your injury. And just maybe note a few. What might be some fears you might have about relationships, social support? And every person's are going to be different. So just really focus on yourself here. And then I encourage you to read or name what you wrote. So maybe one of those things might be, I'm afraid of what my partner is going to think about me. I'm scared about what people are going to say about how I look. I'm scared to look in the mirror. And notice as you name and read aloud those fears, how your body responds. That's what we call your somatic response. We always want to work with our brain and our body together. You might feel a little bit of tightening. You might feel a little bit of tension. Just notice that. We're going to do a little bit of a reframe. So anytime we notice tension in our body, we want to kind of reframe and adjust. So we're going to bring a little bit of positive talk in there and notice that response. And maybe that positive talk might be, it's okay to be afraid about this. It's okay to have fears when you're facing differences. You can be kind and gentle with where you're at now. And notice again that somatic, that body response. Maybe your shoulders dropped a little bit. Maybe your heart warmed up a little bit. Notice your body's response to kindness, gentleness. And then, final step, we're going to rehearse maybe a response to questions surrounding an injury within your own boundaries. So if your fear was, I'm afraid of what my partner might think, and you encouraged and talked positively yourself and validated that fear and allowed it to be present, maybe your response to that might be you sharing with your partner, I'm scared. I'm scared about how I might look to you now. Can you be gentle with me as we face this? Maybe if you're talking to a friend and I don't know how my friends are going to see me. I'm afraid I'm going to look different to you. And I'm scared I might be judged. Can I have your support in where I'm healing right now? Notice how preparation of a response and noticing your own needs and placing some boundary talk around them can feel. Notice maybe a little bit of a sense of encouragement that you might have surrounding where you're at now.
I just love your takeaways. Well, in closing, Changed by Fire is a 501c3 nonprofit committed to helping burn survivors and their families cope and thrive in life after a burn, emotionally, psychologically, and socially, utilizing alternative healing methods such as EFT, equine therapy, burn scar massage, yoga, aromatherapy, meditation, breath work, and so much more. And we are excited to provide regular community events in Arizona to enhance relationships and community, as well as are actively building out our website to showcase even more virtual supports and offerings as well. Check us out at www.changedbyfire.org. And if you're interested in being on the podcast, sharing your tools for healing, sharing your story, reach out to us as always. We had so much fun with Ashley today. That was super fun having you on.
And until next time, we always close our podcast with our acronym, our name of our podcast, which is HEAL. So H, have some insights into your own current relationships in healing. E, evaluate anything that might need to be addressed. How can they best support you? Allow yourself, A, allow yourself to voice boundaries, emotions, your needs surrounding your relationships. And L, let connection happen as possible. So you can show that confident you inside and out. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.